What's going on, everyone? It's my back again. 8:30 in the morning. Whew. Here we are. Yesterday Rafa Benitez did his first press conference as Everton manager, and to be fair to him, I think he come across quite well, actually. I think he spoke very elegantly that you'd expect from Benitez. I think he spoke quite highly of the city, which, you always want somebody to buy into the city. Now, obviously, Carlo Ancelotti did that, but, the proof is in the pudding with Benitez, because he's just been here so long. He set up family from his days when he managed to shite. So, yeah, you can't really argue with what he said. One interesting thing that he did say was regarding James Rodriguez, and he didn't want to single out any sort of initial praise for James. He was asked a question, how important is it having a player like James Rodriguez at Everton, and how exciting can it be, etc. And he wouldn't give anything. He sort of said, "Look, I'm not prepared to talk about individual players," but then he did about Seamus Coleman and sort of went into it, and that was the only thing I sort of took away from it. And then the only other thing I sort of noticed, but this might just be the way that Rafa is, whenever a new manager has come in, I always remember them setting a target. I remember Roberto Martinez coming in and saying the ambition is to finish fourth, and he gave it a bloody good go. Koeman finish in Europe, Marco Silva finish in Europe. Carlo Ancelotti used to say it was to win the league, and then it would change to Champions League, then it would change to Europe, and then it would change to it was a good season, the fact we finished 10th. However, we set out that initial target, whereas Rafa Benitez does it different. He's come out and he's gone, look, we're going to take it game by game. We're going to see where we are. I like to have a target, personally. I like to think, right, that's where the aim is, that's the ambition of the club. But I do think it's difficult for Rafa to do that this season, because I very much think this season is going to be a tough one. And I'm not saying this to be negative, so please hear me out, because as a result of it being tough, I think it could be positive over the next couple of years. But I think this season, I do not think Everton are going to have loads of money to invest without player sales. I just don't. Financial fair play kind of restricts it, in my mind, at the very least. And I've said this for weeks. This isn't new. I've said it for weeks. I think if we're going to sign Dumfries, I expect John Joe Kenny to leave. I expect possibly another to leave, and the wages will pay for the transfer fee and other bits and bobs. And obviously we would generate some transfer fees in. That's kind of what I think will happen. A report's been made this morning by Dominic King, which basically says that James is leaving off the base of Rafa's press conference yesterday, and Dominic King clearly didn't listen to it. He clearly didn't listen to it. He doesn't have a clue. It was embarrassing, his article this morning, actually. But he does allude to big earners and little game time, and saying that this is a situation that needs to be resolved. I very much think this season is very much a sort of rebuilding process. I think over the years, the recruitment's been poor. I think big wages on certain players, and I think that's a hindrance. We've got players like Bernard on between 120 and 150 grand a week. Iwobi on 90, Cenk Tosun on 90, and there's a lot of players who do not play who are absolutely milking this club. And again, as a footballer, as a person, you're not going to walk away from that, are you? You're not going to go, oh yeah, no, give me a pay cut because I'm not playing. You're not going to do that, not in the real world. Although you could argue that these players are on more than enough money, but I sort of sit there and I think this is going to be a difficult summer for Everton. Personally, I think. We spent 65 million last summer and signed some really, really good players. But I actually think we might lose a player this season. I don't know who it'll be. I'm sort of speculating. But I just don't see how we can continue spending the money that we spent. I don't get it. You know, we've spent so much money over 5.5 years now. I sort of question how. And also, not even about that. There's plenty of players in that team that are just not good enough. You know, we all said it last season. You know, we had a fantastic start in 11, and we do on paper. We really, really do. But the stuff that's on the bench it's literally, it must be the biggest divide in quality in the Premier League, because you literally go from a team that I genuinely believe a first 11 that would finish in the top 6 to players on the bench that would finish in the bottom 6. Like, they're that bad. It's that different. It's that chalk and cheese. Whereas, you know, other clubs like Tottenham, you know, fair enough, they might lose they might lose a Lucas Moura, but they've got Bergwijn on the bench. There's not a huge gap in quality. The same with Leeds, for example. Every single time a defender would get injured, there was one point at Leeds where their 2 centre backs were injured, and the 2 centre backs that come in were equally as good. We can't say that. You know, if Yuri Mina gets injured and Michael Keane steps in, and the whole Yuri Mina Michael Keane debate's finished for me. Yuri's much better, much. So that's where Everton need to address, in my opinion. They really need to strengthen the bench, which obviously means some of these first team players will go onto the bench, you know. And having players, you know, we need a better goalkeeper on the bench. You know, we had Robin Olsen last season, who was a very able deputy, but we haven't got him this season. You know, he's been sent back to Roma. I think he's got a year left on his deal there. He would be a fairly cheap number 2 option, because I think it's only a couple of million, so there's that. Sergio Romero has been linked with Everton numerous times, and again, that is not a bad move for either club, but he's 33 or 32 years old and wants 100 grand a week. You wouldn't want to tie him down to a long-term deal, would you? So that, you know, that's an area. And then obviously we've been linked with players like Tammy Abraham again today. We've been linked with Tammy Abraham. We were linked with Max Aarons yesterday. You know, we've been linked with numerous players over the last few weeks that there's just nothing to. In my opinion, there's no substantial evidence to suggest that Everton are even in the market for a striker. You know, we've got Moise Keane, who's returned. Whether he plays or not, I don't know. But he has been at Finch Farm. He has been training. You know, you've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who will come back from England duty, probably a little bit pissed off at the lack of game time he's had. Fair play to him for sort of sticking with the boys and being the ultimate professional, which he has. But deep down, you want to be playing games, don't you? So I can understand that we might, certainly for the first few weeks, maybe confidence might be an issue with DCL. So you're asking Richarlison, who again is at the Olympics and also has been playing for Brazil. So, you know, we're not going to have Richarlison for a few weeks. So really the onus is, in my opinion, will very much be on Moise Keane, as long as he's here. And if he's not, it's going to take 50 million, in my opinion. We should not be expecting any less than 50 million for a player that did well. He was a golden, I can't remember it, golden youngster. You know, he was in the top 20 players rated in the world. I think he actually come something like 8th or something. You know, this is a player who's got proven ability. It's just whether he wants to be at Everton Football Club or not. I think it's obvious he doesn't, but he might not have a choice. And if he wants to get that move next season, he needs to perform for Everton. So I don't know. I sort of, you know, the whole Tammy Abraham link this morning, I think is complete rubbish as well. And then other areas, you know, wingers, Bernard, Iwobi, not good enough. Like, neither of them are good enough. Bernard was physically not big enough and not good enough when we signed him. I knew that. You know, he was a good player on paper, but look at the wages we paid out. Look at the signing on fee we paid out. And it's really weird, actually, because 6 years ago, we would have been sitting here saying, oh, we've got no money to spend, or, you know, we have to sell to buy, or, you know, David Moyes has to work, or Martinez has to work miracles, etc. And now you look, and we've we spend too much on rubbish. It's complete chalk and cheese. It's mad. But Everton need to address it. Like, seriously need to address it, in my opinion, because this summer is sort of... me and John last season said this could be an up and down season. John predicted very early on we'd finish 10th. I predicted we'd finish 5th. Neither of us, although John was bang on, neither of us probably saw the collapse that happened towards the end of last season. Certainly the home form was horrendous, but, we need this season to just be a bit more consistent, a bit more stable. And if we don't win as many games away from home, but we win more games at home, then that's fine. Give me 14 wins at home and 7 wins away. And I know that sounds a bit stupid, saying, you're going to get 63 points or whatever that quickly worked out to. But I think that's more than capable for an Everton side that's got the quality that it has in the starting 11. And if we go through the 11 right now, it's still not a bad sign now. When you've got players like Jordan Pickford's been brilliant, Luca Dean, Yuri Mina, Ben Godfrey, your right back is an issue, but, say Coleman. Then your midfield two, Alan Decore. Then you can stick your James Rodriguez in the middle. And then Moise Keane, Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin. I mean, loads of teams would beg for that side. The only initial area that you sort of go, oh my God, we need another player, is right back. But it's the depth. The depth is the issue. And we're going to be doing a lot more content on sort of areas and players. But look, I'm hoping Dumfries gets done. That I think as a right back, he's what we need. He's attacking, he's aggressive. He'll suit Rafa's system. If Rafa plays 5 at the back, he will suit that system tremendously, because you almost don't need to sign a winger, certainly not this season, and allow Dumfries to sort of bomb on that right-hand side. You allow Luca Dean to bomb on the left-hand side, and they will whip balls in to Richarlison, to Calvert-Lewin. They'll play the inside pass into James Rodriguez, and he will look for them over the top balls to either of them to swing across the box. There's lots of opportunities in this Everton side to hurt teams. At times last season we didn't do it. We played very static, very much like sort of Southgate football. Lots of players behind the ball. Not necessarily a really high press at times. In my opinion, that doesn't work against every team. Southgate did really well in the Euros. I won't criticise him too much. I think some of his decisions were a bit mad, but, he got us to a final in 55 years, so it's difficult to argue. But, with Carlo Ancelotti, who saw these players week in, week out, it was unacceptable. It was unacceptable, and he got away with it. John alluded to it far before I did, because I was worried about the backlash of saying, I don't think Carlo's doing a good job here. I was worried. Whereas now, I'll look back on it and go, do you know what? It was obvious from about February onwards, really. It was that bad. So, with Rafa Benitez, I don't think the football's going to be mega exciting. I don't think it's going to be mega pretty. But I do think we will get results. He managed to get a Newcastle team that was very poor up to 11th, I think 12th. He got them promoted to the Championship. He has a better team at Everton. He has a better team. And if you were asking me what success looks like, I think success this season is 7th. I think it's 7th. I think you'll find that some of the teams above us will progress. I think Manchester United have stepped forward. Whereas last season I thought we could compete with them on a pitch. This season I don't think we'll be able to. Man City and Chelsea, I think they are 3 well above. I think it will be a very interesting season for Liverpool. I think Spurs could be in a mess. And I think Leicester are going to challenge for the top 3 easy this season. I think Leicester are going to be very, very good. And then you've got Arsenal, who are being linked with good players like Maddison. So, you're sort of putting Everton 7th or 8th, aren't you? And I think it's going to be a very tough season. But we'll see. Guys, I'm leaving it there anyway. Have a glorious... What day is it? Thursday. Have a glorious Thursday. I will speak to you very soon. Love you lots, and we've got some great content coming up. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it anymore. We've got great content. Honestly, right, I'm really looking forward to the weekend. Doing conspiracy theories with a guy that knows his shit. I can't wait. And we're hoping potentially to turn this into a podcast, like a full-blown, separate channel podcast, where you'll see us together, we get on, we'll have a banter, we'll have a laugh, we'll set up a proper studio, really go for it. So, yeah, guys, I'm leaving it there. Have a glorious, glorious day, and peace.